It's Thursday, September 26th, and this is Markets Daily, hosted by me, Jen Sanasi. On this show, we navigate the currents shaping the crypto markets, providing insights against the broader financial landscape. So whether you're actively trading or simply fascinated by the volatility that is the crypto markets, this show is your compass to understanding what has happened, where we are, and where we are going. Good morning, everyone. On this special edition of Markets Daily, we're going to do something a little different. On yesterday's episode, our guest said there needs to be a focus on use cases when looking at crypto markets, and I completely agree with that statement. To evaluate what kind of products are going to be around for a long time, we need to look at value creation. And oftentimes, investors will look at value creation in terms of revenue, but value can also be created in different ways. Now, on today's episode, we're going to dig into a project that's making a difference in the lives of people living in a small rural community in Colombia. About a month ago, I watched a YouTube video produced by the Stellar Development Foundation about a man who had a problem that was solved by crypto. That man's name is Zachary Borrowdale. Zach found himself in San Francisco, Colombia, a place where no one has a bank account. Now, I'm willing to bet that almost everyone who listens to this show cannot relate with that statement, but it is a reality for these people. The town of only 6,000 people is still recovering from the after effects of the Colombian conflict, and it's been left without basic infrastructure like banking. Zach fell in love with the region, and Zach set up two businesses to employ locals. The problem he faced, though, was he was unable to pay his employees. So what did he do?
The solution that I found was just to withdraw cash from ATMs. So I've gone and gotten a bunch of debit cards, and I've just spent my day going around the city from bank to bank to bank, making withdrawals in cash. I had special clothing constructed, so I had a jacket and jeans with little pockets in them. Throughout the day, I would just have to collect money in a non-suspicious way, and then I'd get on my motorbike and I'd ride out to the village so that I could pay everybody's salaries.
On October 30th last year, Zach was shot while collecting cash. He was declared dead by doctors, and then he woke up 3 days later. So what happened next? Zach's friend Rick Martin came to the rescue. Rick is the co-founder of Decaf, an app that allows people to send and receive crypto. And when they want, they can go to a MoneyGram and convert that crypto into local fiat. These two got to work getting Zach's employees set up on Decaf, and because of this, Zach could remain in San Francisco and continue to provide employment to the community, and the community could get paid. Now, on this show, we talk a lot about the crypto markets, where prices are going, and how to make the most out of investments, but I felt like Zach's investment in San Francisco and Rick's commitment to making money accessible were just as important. Let's start off by taking a look at the problem.
Well, look, the number one issue to developing all of these rural regions is that anything you want to build, you need basic infrastructure. You need a sewage system, you need a water system, you need an electric system, but you also need some sort of financial system. You need some unit of universal value that people who live there can use to trade goods and services between one another. And the reality is that the traditional banking architecture, not only is it not there, but even if it was there, the technology is not as good as what crypto can do. With crypto, every time we want to hire a new employee or move to a new town, we download an app, and that's going to be easier than anything else that the traditional banks can put out there.
Now, my initial thought here is that onboarding is hard. Isn't that what we hear every time a new crypto project launches? It turns out it's not that hard when there's a real need and a solid use case.
Interestingly, we've had no issues with rolling out these crypto systems. Look, if you go to the older people in the town, the retirees, of course, they're traditional farmers. They're not necessarily as tech savvy. But the younger generations, this is intuitive to them. I mean, it's actually easier for them to pull out their phones and download an app than it is to go through a traditional banking system and open an account. And they prefer it. I mean, they might be in poverty-stricken areas, but younger people want to have all the stuff people in Western countries have. They see it on their YouTube videos. They're aware it's out there. So I've had no problems with the implementation of this technology. In fact, if anything, it's actually removed previous issues that we might have had.
And it seems this use case is so solid that it's eliminating cash.
That's So literally, we're actually seeing decaf eliminating cash being used in these towns already. One of the things we noted, and it wasn't actually intentional, but my employees have actually started, instead of cashing out their crypto, they're just using it to trade between one another. So of course, if you're buying groceries or if you've got to pay the electric bill, instead of converting it to cash and paying the bill, they're just sending the crypto to each other. And that's preferable for them because at any point where you have money, there's a potential of being robbed. Even saving money in your house is not something that might normally be done, because if people find out you've got money there, that's a good reason to break in. Whereas an app on the phone, nobody knows what you've got and you can send it instantaneously.
Hey everyone, did you know 52 million Americans own cryptocurrencies? That's not just a number, it's a movement, economic, social, and political. Decentralized finance, blockchain, and digital currencies are more than buzzwords, they are the future. This November, it's on us to show up and step up. We need to protect crypto to ensure it continues to fuel innovation and freedom for our families and businesses. Don't let this opportunity slip by. The future of crypto is on the line. Make your voice heard this November and pledge to vote now at standwithcrypto.org/pledge. Now, while onboarding hasn't presented challenges in this particular situation, trust is still a key component. Rick says a combination of in-person support and ongoing online education has proven to be successful.
Yeah, often we have to work side by side people, to make sure that, we're not going to run away, or steal their money, because it is dealing with money. So it's something that you need to sort of at first handhold at least members of the community that are leaders and educating other people to show them, what opportunities are available to them, and providing an education assistance, often in person, at least initially, to make them feel a sense of trust and to get them to understand how to use it and to understand what the benefits are to them. So yeah, a mixture of in-person education, online support, and guides and videos.
For me, while watching the video about these two and interviewing them, I reflected on how easy it is to forget that in some areas around the world, people just don't have the same choices we do. I can choose to use cash, a credit card, direct deposit, crypto, but in this area, there's no other way. These people were not provided with the benefits of infrastructure so that they can enjoy the same conveniences many of us already have.
I think we need to look at banking systems, especially in countries where it maybe is failed. Like I'm sitting here in Argentina. In 2001, the banks took 75% of all people's money in their bank accounts. Argentinians don't trust banks. They don't want people to hold their money. There's a very obvious and clear need for alternative systems such as non-custodial finance or crypto. But if we look at these places like Colombia as well, where banking systems are broken, you have to understand what are the incentives for banks to actually help people maybe in a rural area or just people in general. And there's banking deserts, for example. So the systems of banking don't even exist in probably the majority of the country, say in Colombia. And most people are working in agriculture or they work in a cash economy. That's why cash just dominates in these places. So, there's no incentives to bank I guess people who aren't banked, because they probably have less money and banks don't make as much money. So there's banking deserts and there's no real incentives to bank the unbanked. And where places that cash are king is where sort of our integration with MoneyGram actually makes a lot of sense. So MoneyGram is a place that has more locations than any bank. They work in little corner stores and shopping malls, and MoneyGram locations are everywhere. There's 350,000, and it's in 184 countries around the world. And the accessibility to getting to a MoneyGram to get cash is huge, and it's really good in places where there might be banking deserts, where there's no banks, but there's MoneyGrams. And so we make the connection, and I think it's really a great thing to, with Stellar, which have the partnership with MoneyGram, to use stable coins to do settlement, to use it as an alternative system instead of using a banking rail. You can use crypto and blockchain, and this connection to all these MoneyGram locations is exceptional for people who live in cash economies, which is pretty much anywhere that the banking system may have either failed, doesn't exist, or where people have a high distrust of institutions holding their money.
Now, I asked Rick if he thinks that in this industry, we focus too much on price movements. And I do understand the irony there because that's what this show is all about. But I think if we can understand the utility, the benefits, the use cases, and the potential that this industry has to truly change lives, we'll all be a little better off. Here's what he had to say.
The short answer is I do think this industry focuses too much on the price action, the sort of gambling, speculative nature of crypto. And these stories drown out the real utility of this industry and the technology and the potential of this technology. As you heard the story before, and how this can be used to save people's lives and really shift the dial on accessibility and financial inclusion like no other technology before. It doesn't matter if no one hears about this. We don't move the dial. And then I sit and watch the consequences of the narrative of this industry. How can we blame anyone but ourselves as an industry for people like Gary Gensler, Elizabeth Warren hating on our industry? When if you look at what the narratives that drive this industry are, how can they have any other perspective other than a negative one if all they see is a use case of speculation and gambling and scams? I just wanted to say that just to shout out and call out our industry because, I get it. There's some things that maybe they're unfair. They didn't do that, but we also need to take responsibility and look at ourselves as an industry and look at the narratives that we decide to highlight, that we decide to play into, and that we decide to drown out certain narratives. And this has a consequence. And one of the things is if we really want to see progress in this industry, we want to see others who may have power to change and shift, regulation or adoption towards, in crypto and our whole industry, and be taken seriously as like adults, or grown up in any sense, mature industry. We have to be mindful of the stories that we tell or that we promote. And one of, I think, the biggest flaws of our entire industry is that we decide to drown out narratives of utility of the technology, and we seem to go circling back on the speculative gambling and scams of this industry, and that's a real detriment to all of us.
All right, everyone. That is a wrap for this episode of Markets Daily. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you like listening to Markets Daily, subscribe to the CoinDesk podcast network that is available on all podcast platforms. And if you like watching us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up button. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.